Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling the idea of obstacles. And we're going to be looking at it from a historical perspective, but also a lot of philosophical insights, especially from the Stoics.
Yeah, and I think it'll be really interesting to sort of weave these different sources together.
Yeah.
The idea that obstacles are actually opportunities for growth. I mean, it's a really powerful concept.
It is. And it's not just sort of positive thinking, right? We're going to be looking at, practical strategies for developing resilience. And I mean, this stack of sources you've given me certainly makes it look like the Stoics were masters of this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they developed, an entire philosophy around navigating challenges and turning them into paths for growth.
I mean, there's so many different concepts here. Is there one in particular that you think really embodies this?
Well, one concept that really embodies this is the idea of what they call the inner citadel.
Okay, inner citadel. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. What exactly does that mean?
So think of it as a mental fortress, a place of strength and resilience that you cultivate within yourself. The Stoics believed that by developing certain mental disciplines, you could build this inner fortress and withstand any external pressure or hardship.
So it's not about avoiding obstacles altogether, but rather about building ourselves up so we can face them head on.
Yeah, exactly. And they believed it was a practice, not just a passive trait. They had specific techniques for strengthening this inner citadel, like visualizing challenging situations in advance and mentally rehearsing how you would respond.
That sounds a lot like what we might call mental rehearsal today, you know? Athletes and performers use it all the time.
Exactly. Same principle.
Hmm.
By mentally preparing for potential challenges, we can train our minds to respond with strength and clarity rather than panic or fear.
And I'm already starting to see how this connects to that obstacles as opportunities idea. If we have that inner strength, we're less likely to see a challenge as a threat and more likely to see it as a chance to practice those mental disciplines.
Right. The Stoics would say that it's precisely through facing and overcoming obstacles that we build that inner strength. It's like a muscle that gets stronger with each workout.
And it's not just about mental strength, right? I mean, these sources also highlight some incredible examples of physical resilience. One that really stood out to me was Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, here was a guy who was incredibly frail as a child. I mean, dealing with severe asthma, yet he transformed himself through sheer willpower and physical activity.
Yeah, Roosevelt is a fantastic example. Um, he wasn't content to be defined by his physical limitations. He chose to confront them head on, and in doing so became, the embodiment of what he called the strenuous life.
Oh, I love that phrase, the strenuous life. It speaks to this idea that we're not meant to simply exist passively. We're meant to push ourselves, to test our limits, and to grow through challenge.
And I think that's a key point that the Stoics would agree with. They believe that a life of ease and comfort ultimately leads to weakness and stagnation. It's through facing adversity that we discover our true potential.
Okay, so we're starting to get a sense of how cultivating inner strength, both mental and physical, is essential for turning obstacles into opportunities. But how do we actually apply this in our daily lives? What are some specific, techniques or strategies that we can use?
One, uh, one technique that the Stoics practiced was called premeditatio malorum, which translates to premeditation of evils. Now, that might sound a bit dark.
Oh, yeah, premeditation of evils. I'm definitely curious to hear more about this. It doesn't exactly sound like something you'd find in a self-help book today.
But it's about mentally preparing for potential setbacks and challenges. Imagine a CEO conducting a premortem before launching a new product. They might ask their team, what are all the ways this could fail?
Ah, I see what you mean. It's about anticipating potential problems so you're not blindsided when they, well, inevitably arise.
Exactly. The Stoics believe that by mentally rehearsing difficult situations, we could reduce anxiety and build resilience. We could train ourselves to respond with calm and clarity rather than fear and panic.
So it's not about dwelling on negative outcomes or becoming pessimistic. It's about mentally preparing ourselves to handle whatever comes our way.
Right. It's a proactive approach to dealing with uncertainty. And by acknowledging that things won't always go smoothly, we can avoid becoming discouraged or giving up easily when we encounter setbacks.
I really like how practical this all feels. It's not just some abstract philosophy. These are tools that we can actually use to navigate the challenges we face in our own lives.
And there's another powerful Stoic technique that complements premeditatio malorum. It's called the art of acquiescence.
Okay, art of acquiescence. What does that involve?
It's about accepting the things we cannot control. The Stoics believe that a lot of our suffering comes from resisting reality, from fighting against the natural order of things.
I think we can all relate to that. I mean, we've all experienced that frustration of wanting things to be different than they are.
Absolutely. And the art of acquiescence is about recognizing that there are certain things in life that are simply beyond our control. We can't control the weather, the traffic, or other people's actions, but we can control our own thoughts and reactions.
So it's about focusing our energy on what we can influence and letting go of the things that are outside of our sphere of control.
Precisely. And it's not about being passive or giving up. It's about channeling our energy wisely and effectively.
That makes sense. It's like that serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
It's a perfect example, and the Stoics would say that this acceptance, this acquiescence, is a key to finding peace and tranquility in a world that is constantly changing and often unpredictable.
So we've got premeditatio malorum for mentally preparing ourselves for challenges, and the art of acquiescence for accepting the things we can't control. I mean, it seems like the Stoics had a whole toolkit for dealing with adversity.
They did. And these tools are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They can help us develop resilience, navigate uncertainty, and turn obstacles into opportunities for growth.
It's amazing how these ancient philosophies can still speak to us in such a powerful and practical way.
Well, I think it's because they address fundamental human challenges that are timeless. The obstacles we face today might be different in form, but the underlying principles of resilience, adaptability, and inner strength are universal.
This has been a fascinating exploration so far, but I know there's still more to uncover. I'm eager to continue our deep dive and see what other insights we can glean from these sources.
I'm with you. Let's keep going.
You know, as we delve deeper into these Stoic concepts, I'm starting to see how they connect to this idea of finding meaning and purpose in the face of obstacles.
Yeah, that's a key insight. The Stoics believe that true fulfillment comes not from avoiding hardship, but from living in alignment with nature, which means accepting both the good and the bad.
So it's not about seeking a life of constant ease and comfort, but rather about embracing the full spectrum of human experience, challenges, and all.
Exactly. And they believe that by facing obstacles with courage and wisdom, we could actually transform them into opportunities for growth and self-discovery. One of the most powerful examples of this is the life of Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, Marcus Aurelius. Now he's a fascinating figure. I mean, Roman emperor, a philosopher, and a warrior all rolled into one. He definitely faced his share of obstacles.
He did. Imagine, leading an empire during a time of plague, war, and political instability. Yet through it all, he maintained a remarkable sense of calm and clarity, guided by his Stoic principles.
It's like he embodied that idea of the inner citadel we talked about earlier. He had this inner strength that allowed him to weather any storm.
And it's reflected in his personal writings, the meditations. They're not grand pronouncements. They're more like private reflections on how to live a virtuous life, even in the face of adversity.
So it's almost like a blueprint for resilience, written by someone who was living it out in the most demanding circumstances imaginable.
Yeah, and one of the key themes that emerges from the meditations is this idea of the obstacle becomes the way.
Okay, I've heard that phrase before. Can you unpack it a bit? What does it actually mean?
It means that the challenges we encounter in life are not roadblocks, but rather opportunities for growth and transformation. The obstacle itself, the thing that's standing in our way, can become the path forward if we approach it with the right mindset.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but how do we actually put this into practice? It's easy to say the obstacle becomes the way, but how do we actually shift our perspective to see challenges in this light?
Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics in general emphasize three essential disciplines: perception, action, and will.
Okay, perception, action, will. I'm intrigued. Let's break those down one by one. What does it mean to cultivate the right perception when it comes to obstacles?
Well, it means seeing things clearly for what they
Hmm.
truly are without letting our emotions, cloud our judgment. It's about recognizing that our initial reactions to challenges are are often driven by fear or frustration or a desire to avoid discomfort.
So it's about stepping back from those initial reactions and taking a more objective look at the situation.
Exactly. And it's about challenging those negative thought patterns that can hold us back. The Stoics would say that we have the power to choose our thoughts even when circumstances are difficult.
That's a powerful idea, but how do we actually do that? How do we reframe our thinking when we're faced with a truly daunting obstacle?
One technique is to ask yourself, is this obstacle truly insurmountable? Or is it simply a challenge that requires me to step outside of my comfort zone?
I like that. It's about reframing the challenge as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to our well-being.
And it's about recognizing that our perception of an obstacle is often more daunting than the obstacle itself.
Okay, so that's perception. We shift our thinking to see the obstacle as a challenge to be overcome rather than a roadblock. But then what? What's the role of action in this process?
Action is about taking responsibility for our situation and taking steps to move forward. It's about not getting stuck in analysis paralysis or dwelling on the problem, but rather channeling our energy into doing anything to create positive momentum.
So it's about translating that shift in perception into concrete steps.
Exactly. And those steps don't have to be monumental. Even small actions taken consistently can lead to significant progress over time.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Precisely. And it's important to remember that action is not always about achieving a specific outcome. It's also about the process itself,
Yeah.
about showing up, doing the work, and learning along the way.
Oh, I love that. It's about embracing the journey even when the destination is uncertain. But what about will? Where does that fit into the equation?
Will is the glue that holds it all together. It's
Yeah.
the inner strength, the resilience, the unwavering determination to keep going even when things get tough.
So it's that grit, that ability to push through challenges and stay committed to our goals even when we face setbacks.
Exactly. And the Stoics believe that will, like perception and action, is a muscle that can be strengthened through practice.
So how do we cultivate this kind of unwavering will? It seems like some people are just naturally more resilient than others.
Well, while there might be some temperamental differences, the Stoics believe that anyone could develop a strong will through discipline and conscious effort.
So it's not about being born tough, but rather about training ourselves to become tough.
Right. And one way to do this is by embracing discomfort. The Stoics believe that by intentionally putting ourselves in challenging situations, we could, we could build our capacity for endurance and develop a greater tolerance for pain.
That makes sense. It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
And it's not about seeking out, unnecessary suffering. It's about recognizing that discomfort is an inherent part of growth
Yeah.
and that by leaning into it, we can actually expand our capacity for resilience.
Okay, so we've got perception, action, and will. Three disciplines that can help us turn obstacles into opportunities. But can you give me a concrete example of how these principles might play out in real life?
Let's go back to Marcus Aurelius and his rebellious general. I mean, this was a massive obstacle. This was a threat to his leadership and the stability of the entire Roman Empire.
Talk about a high stakes situation. How did he apply those three disciplines?
Well, first, perception. Instead of reacting with anger or seeking revenge, he chose to see the rebellion as an opportunity to demonstrate forgiveness and wisdom.
So he shifted his perspective to see the situation as a chance to embody his Stoic principles.
Exactly. Then action. He didn't hesitate or shy away from the challenge. He took decisive action to protect the empire and restore order, but he did so with a sense of measured resolve, not fueled by rage or a thirst for vengeance.
That's amazing. He was able to act decisively without being driven by negative emotions.
And finally, well,
Yeah.
he remained committed to his Stoic principles of virtue and justice throughout the ordeal. He didn't allow the betrayal to compromise his values or his leadership.
So he used the obstacle, the rebellion, to further strengthen his own character and demonstrate his commitment to his principles.
Exactly. And through this process, he turned what could have been a devastating defeat into a powerful lesson in leadership, resilience, and the transformative power of obstacles.
This has been incredibly illuminating, but I have to admit it's a lot to process. I think we might need a moment to let all this sink in.
I agree. It's a lot to take in, but these are powerful ideas that can truly change the way we approach, challenges in our lives.
It's amazing, how these Stoic principles, they just seem to resonate across, different times and cultures. We've been talking about Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, but these ideas feel just as relevant today, don't they?
They do, yeah. I think it's because they tap into something fundamental about the human experience.
Yeah.
We all face challenges, setbacks, and obstacles. It's part of being alive, and the Stoics, they offer this framework for navigating those challenges.
Mm.
With grace and wisdom and resilience.
And one of the key takeaways, I think, is this idea that obstacles, they aren't just things to be endured or overcome. They can actually be catalysts for growth and transformation.
Right. The Stoics believed that obstacles, if approached correctly, could help us develop strength, wisdom, and virtue. They
Yeah.
could force us to confront our limitations and discover hidden reserves of resilience, within ourselves.
So it's not about seeking out, suffering or intentionally making things harder for ourselves. It's about recognizing that challenges are an inevitable part of life and that we can choose to use them as opportunities for growth.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective from why me to what can I learn from this. It's about
Right.
seeing obstacles as teachers, as tests that can help us become, stronger and wiser.
And it seems like a key part of that is developing a strong sense of purpose. We've seen how figures like Viktor Frankl, even in the midst of unimaginable suffering, I mean, in the Holocaust, found a, a reason to keep going, a purpose that transcended his own, personal pain.
Yeah, I mean, Frankel's story is just an incredible testament to the power of purpose. Even in the most dire circumstances, having a reason to live, a mission to fulfill, can make all the difference. It can provide a sense of meaning and direction that helps us navigate even the darkest of times.
But what if we're struggling to find that sense of purpose? What if we feel lost or uncertain about our direction in life?
That's a common experience, and it's something the Stoics, they address this as well. They believe that purpose wasn't something we simply find. It's something we cultivate through our actions, our choices, and our engagement with the world.
So it's not about waiting for some, grand revelation or epiphany. It's about actively seeking out meaning and purpose in our daily lives.
Exactly. And one way to do this is by focusing on what we can control. The Stoics would say that we can't always choose our circumstances, but we can always choose our attitude, our response, and our actions.
So it's about taking ownership of our lives even when things feel, chaotic or uncertain.
Right. And it's about recognizing that purpose can be found in the smallest of things. It can be found in acts of kindness,
Mhm.
in pursuing our passions, in contributing to something larger than ourselves, or simply in showing up each day with intention and purpose.
I love that. It's about finding those little sparks of meaning in the everyday moments of our lives, and those sparks can add up to create a fire that guides us through the darkness.
Beautifully put. And the more we focus on living a purposeful life, the less daunting obstacles become. We
Yes.
start to see them as challenges to be met, as opportunities to test our mettle and grow in resilience.
It's like having a compass that points us in the right direction, even when the path is winding and unpredictable.
And as we continue to navigate that path, as we continue to confront obstacles and turn them into opportunities, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. We discover hidden strengths and cultivate a resilience that we never knew we possessed.
This has been such an incredible journey of discovery. I mean, we've explored, ancient philosophies, inspiring stories, and practical strategies for turning obstacles into opportunities.
And I think the key takeaway is that we all have the power to choose how we respond to challenges. We can choose to be defined by our obstacles, or we can choose to use them as fuel for growth and transformation.
Mhm. So it's not about wishing for a life without obstacles. It's about equipping ourselves with the tools and the mindset to navigate them effectively and emerge stronger on the other side.
Exactly. And those tools aren't complex or esoteric. They're principles of perception, action, and will that we can practice and cultivate in our daily lives. And the more we practice them, the more natural they become.
I feel like I've gained so much from this deep dive. It's given me a new perspective on challenges and a renewed sense of hope that I can actually turn them into opportunities for growth.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We all face obstacles. It's part of the human condition. But by embracing the Stoic principles we've discussed, we can face those challenges with courage, wisdom, and resilience.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and for guiding us through this incredible material. It's been truly illuminating.
It's been my pleasure. And remember that the obstacle is the way.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and tools to help you navigate the obstacles you face and turn them into opportunities for growth and transformation. Until next time.